it's Jennifer Henry, your host today, and co-hosting with me is somebody really special. Now, before I introduce this awesome special guest, I also want to remind us about what we're talking about, basically this entire series. We're talking about the most important part of your business, which is not tactical, it's not strategic, it's truly what is housed between your ears, which is your mindset. It's really the attitude with which you approach your day. And it's, according to statistics and scientific studies, 90% of the success that you have in your business will be determined directly by your mindset, skill set, who you know, all those other things that we think are really important, all of those really tactical things, those technician type things, they're 10%. So what's interesting about mindset is that there are some people that just have a general knack for having a positive outlook on life. There's others that have had to learn it. There's others that have never learned it, and you probably know who those people are. I would ask you to evaluate yourself. Are you a glass half empty, glass half full type of person? You know, I also heard someone who once said to me, I'm not negative, I'm just a realist. Well, I also think that if you're a real person who really thinks things are negative, that can mean you're negative. So I would ask each of my listeners today and those that are watching to ask yourself, what are you? Because that's going to matter to the success of your life. Now, when I started thinking about who to bring on as a special guest for this podcast, I asked my husband, who is my number one fan and number one supporter in the whole wide world, who do you think that we should bring in for an interview about mindset? And before he even answered, I knew my answer. My answer was him. As soon as I asked, I thought, wait a minute, why am I asking Geoff? Because of all the people in the whole world that I know, there is one person who has always had an amazing outlook, naturally has a great outlook, but has also learned behavior and has adapted it beautifully and has created massive success for himself, as well as a lot of joy and fulfillment in his career. So I introduce to you today my co-host and special guest, Geoffrey Henry. Let's give it up for Geoff. Now, Geoff, before I turn it over to you and we start talking and bantering, I also want to let our guests know, the people that are listening, that although Geoff is a guest here on my podcast, I live closest to Geoff of anybody else, and I can attest to the fact that everything he says is true and that he's not getting any special treatment just because he's married to me. And that the people that I bring onto this podcast are truly those that exemplify in their lives the things that we talk about. And again, because I get to see Geoff in the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm here to tell the whole world that this man has something special when it comes to the way he thinks and the way that he operates in his life. Geoff Henry is a real estate agent, has been for how many years, Geoff?
9
years, 8 or 9 years. Yeah. So Geoff got into real estate when I was ready to basically get out of sales. Geoff kind of came in and took over my business and learned from the ground up, and has had a great success and has been a team leader, has been a team member, has been a single solo agent, and is now an investor flipper and sells real estate too. So he's a man of jack of many trades and is an amazing real estate agent out there in the world. And I think he also has a lot to offer. So Geoff, how you doing today?
I'm doing amazing.
Of course you are, because we're talking about mindset. That's great. So Geoff, when it comes to mindset, although you are naturally a very positive, forward-thinking person, what have you had to learn in the years of being a real estate agent about the way you think and how it pertains to your success?
Well, I really feel like it depends on the stimulus coming in, right? If you have a bad stimulus coming in and the way you respond to it, you have to check yourself. Bad quote, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
True.
That's a real statement, though. You have to evaluate the immediate emotion of the challenge, right? And then decide how you're going to respond to it. There are times I don't do that so well.
Well, more often than not, I've seen you really rise to the occasion. So now, Geoff, you've had some negative experiences. Nothing has been sunshine and rainbows for you. I know that because it's been challenging. You know, we are normal humans that face normal challenges in life. And I know that you've experienced some challenges. So tell us about a time that you've experienced some challenges that you had to make a conscientious decision about the way that you were going to approach that.
So I mean, it's real estate. Nothing goes as planned. That never happens, right? I think that I can talk about one really, really, really hard day in real estate. A few years back, we had somewhere near like $2.3 million in contracts fall out in about an hour and a half. That was 5 contracts gone, and it just so happened to be about a week before Christmas.
I remember it.
It was a rough day, and my assistant at the time, she was like, I don't want you to look at your email anymore today. And I'm like, well, why? And she was like, because we just lost another one. And I'm like, well, we've got to deal with it. So I pushed back from my chair, and she looks at me and she goes, what are you going to do? And I said, well, we're going to show up tomorrow. We're going to lead generate, and we're going to figure it out. And ultimately that was, what I had to learn was that whatever's going on, you can produce through it. If you don't let it beat you. And that was tough to learn, but that was something I had to learn.
When you say produce through it, what is the alternative? What would you say a weaker mindset might do?
Quit.
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, that's easy. Quit.
Yeah. Well, and Geoff, the statistic in real estate.
Yeah. 87% won't last 4 years.
It's actually 2.
2 years. Yeah.
So in those moments, have you felt like quitting?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you think? How did you manifest the mindset and the tenacity to keep moving forward? What did that look like in your own mind?
I had a coach one time tell me, and I'm probably going to butcher this quote, but basically she said, I have the luxury of not having a choice. I only had a choice to produce. We had to keep moving forward for my family, for my own real estate, for my team. I had to go in and show up and get on the phones and get more business.
Yeah.
So I had the luxury of not having a choice.
So having a choice, albeit maybe the safety zone, or maybe it causes people to feel like they have a backup plan. What I'm hearing you say is may actually be detrimental in the long run to a successful career in real estate.
Oh, absolutely. I frequently equate real estate to jumping out of an airplane and hoping that your parachute opens.
Yeah.
But if you had the option to crawl back in the airplane after you jumped out, would you ever get to where you're supposed to be going?
True story. You'd never have the exhilaration of falling and that experience that people jump out of planes for, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's really good. Geoff, this is totally not scripted, and it just kind of came to me, and I'm going to roll with it.
Okay.
Do you remember the quote that you coined when you first got into real estate? The one that you're known for, the one that you're famous for. What is that quote?
Absolutely. I actually hand scrawled it with a Sharpie on a wall one time.
I remember.
It was production solved everything.
Production solves everything. All right. That's a mindset. Tell me, and for the people listening, keeping in mind that some of them are considering a career in real estate, can you explain what that means? What does production solves everything mean?
Well, let me explain it this way. A lot of real estate is numbers, right? If I make 1,000 phone calls, I can expect to have 4 pieces of business, right? If I'm really bad at getting appointments, I just need to make 2,000 phone calls, right, to get my 4 pieces of business.
Right.
If I just suck at selling houses and only 1 out of my 4 pieces of business actually sell, I just need to make 4,000 phone calls to be able to get 4 deals closed, right? So no matter how good or bad you are at this business, all you have to do is know your numbers and produce through it, right? If I had a horrible assistant that was draining $10,000 a month out of my business, I can either fire her or I can just produce more money because I want to keep her because she's my daughter, right?
It's not the case, but yes.
That's not the case. I'm just using it as a figurative example. You can produce through anything.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing part about being a real estate agent, is that your destiny is in your hands.
Right. Right. So when you say production, it means the things that you have to do to create success for yourself. And in real estate, that's lead generating. That's using your specific skill set to get in front of the right amount of people in order to get you the right results. So when you're doing that on repeat, rinse and repeat, despite the results, what I'm hearing you say is it solves a lot of other problems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It solves many problems.
Yep.
Solves emotional problems.
Yep.
Well, it's not going to fix crazy, but it can help you pay for a psychiatrist. I'm just kidding. But
I
when
think
you
it helps crazy.
it does help crazy. Yeah. Well, think about this too. The energy created by doing the right things, not thinking, but actually doing the right things. The energy that creates, the positivity that creates, has a compounding effect on your psyche, and your psyche again is 90% of your success. So it's just a cycle that we have to learn how to get into. You alluded to this, that the opposite is to stop the cycle and to quit, which actually supports the story that you're just bad at this and it's not for you. Production solves everything is a mindset. I've heard you say that over and over and over again, and I've actually witnessed you employ that in your life. All right, so Geoff, talk to us about, you shared something with me just recently about the 3 different types of mindsets. I'm going to let you kind of take it from here, but will you share that with our listeners today? I thought that was amazing insight.
Okay. So very recently, #Monday, I had a rough day, and I won't go into the details, but it was bad. Okay. And I really got to thinking about, like, when you have a bad day, it's actually pretty easy to flip the script and go, you know what, this is just today. Tomorrow's going to be better. I just need to do these things. Right. And a lot of people give me a lot of credit for being able to just flip that switch. Bad thing happens, see the silver lining, move forward where we need to go. And then I got to thinking about mindset. Like, it's almost as hard to stay in a great mindset when something great happens. And I'll explain this in business. Like, sometimes you have a $1 million day. Like, you walked in the office and you took 4 listings and had 3 closings or whatever. It's an amazing day, right? Well, not every day is going to be like that. So the next day, how do you keep that fire going whenever there's nothing left on your sales docket, right? We go through these big ups and downs in real estate, and I think the ups are just as hard as the downs whenever it comes to keeping your mindset straight.
It's good stuff.
But that can be easy. The actual hardest part is the 3rd type of mindset, and that's the bored mindset. That's when things start to level off and you're doing the same thing day after day after day after day. And you just get bored. There's no excitement, there's no crazy, everything kind of falls into a rhythm. And I actually think people when they start to level, they actually start to dip. And their mindset gets into this complacency and this place that actually becomes very negative, and you never even know it. And then to jolt out of that is very hard, because there's not a catalyst of bad there. It's just kind of I'm bored.
Well, the catalyst could be a really great day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're waiting for that really great day.
Mm-hmm.
Or the catalyst could be a really bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes you to just snap and say, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So the most difficult mindset to have, from what I'm hearing you say, is the mindset within the boredom, the mastery of boredom.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a real estate career is boredom in terms of activities that you have to do day in, day out?
So I would like to say it's only 20%, but no, it's more like 90%. It's routine processes and things that you need to do every day to ensure your success down the road. Now, there's a lot of chaos that you have to put up with, but you handle a lot of it by just being in that board routine.
It's so good. So especially the further along you get in your real estate career, the more you can create systems And a lot of those systems can create that rinse and repeat kind of thing that's required. They've said that success is one small decision every single day compounded over time, and failure is one small wrong decision compounded over time. So it is about, the success is in the mundane. The success is in the boredom. The good days, the elated, the excited, the joyous winning days are a result of all the mundane that has piled up. Equally, in many cases, the bad days are a result of a lot of the mundane building up, especially if you're not doing what you should be doing. So I just thought that was a really great way to look at that, Geoff. So how do you maintain your mindset in the boredom?
So I have to be positive, right? I listen to upbeat music or worship music in the Jeep on my way to the office. Music is a thing for me. Like that might not be a thing for you. I grew up in sports, so we have our hype music to get us going. So I rely on that. That's one thing. The other thing is I do know that this too shall pass, right? Whatever my struggle is, I know that this too will pass, and we're going to get where we want to go, so long as we keep our eye on the goal. So the other thing that I do is I do write down my goals, not as often as I'd like, but I do have written goals that I can review whenever I'm feeling a particular type of way. And then I can go, you know what? If I evaluate my goal versus where I started and where I am, I can see the progress. And then I can understand that those bored days actually were moving the needle in the right direction.
That's right. And you just don't feel it. Yeah. We cannot base this real estate career on our feelings. We know that. We can wake up every single day and choose a mindset that will support the goals that we have. We can wake up every single day and choose to get to do this job or have to do this job. I think that's a big one for me, is really just kind of saying, do I get to do it or do I have to do it? In fact, recently I had a task that I had to do that I put off for a whole week. And when I changed the mindset around it, I got to do it. I thought, wow, that's a real different shift, even just physiologically in my body. And so it's little tweaks like that that can make the difference in the long run about how we approach the opportunities that we have. Whether you're new in real estate or whether you've been in real estate for a long time, whether you're thinking about it or you're going to send this podcast to someone who is, I'm just here to tell you, success does not depend solely on how much you know, who you know, how much money you have, how beautiful or how not as beautiful you are, how tall, how short. None of that matters. If you can keep right the way you think and the way you approach the conflicts, the way you approach the good days and the way you approach the boredom, because I love that, Geoff, that was so good. You can truly, truly have a competitive edge against your competition. Because again, let's face it, 87% of real estate agents will not renew their license after 2 years. So right there, we see that there's a giant gap in the way people think. Secondarily, the National Association of Realtors says that only 3% of agents in the board, the national board, will make $150,000 or more. 3%. So while you may have thousands of people in your board, in your local board, you really aren't competing with any of those people. Who you're competing with is you and the way that you think. That's your biggest competition, because the way we think is habitual. So we have to constantly fight that. And that is where we have to compete. That is where we focus our energy and time. That's where you align yourself with people like Geoff, like us here at Game Changer Realty, who will take a stand for a positive mindset, who will say, that's not how we're going to approach this. We're going to look at this differently and speak life over the situations that you find yourself in. So that's where your associations matter. All right, Geoff, as we wrap up today, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners about positive mindset?
There is always a silver lining. There really is. If you look for it, you will find what you're looking for, positive or negative. Yeah. So look for the positive.
That's awesome. Well, Geoff, thank you so much for your podcast today. I appreciate the time that you've spent with us, and I look forward to getting to do a whole lot more with you in the future. Thank you always for your support, and thank you for being a great husband as well.